I used to be so unproductive as an editor. I'd spend hours procrastinating, swiping on social media, even doing odd jobs to put off editing. And even when I did get myself to the computer to edit, I would even watch other videos whilst editing and not actually give it my full attention. Then I would get to the end of the day and realize I hadn't actually finished anything and I'd been so unproductive. I would then feel really bad at the end of the day and beat myself up about it, which then made me even more unmotivated to edit the next day. It was a vicious circle. But when I started freelancing full time, I knew I needed to make a change. I couldn't let this keep happening, as editing would also spill over into weekends, not because I had too much work, but just because I'd been procrastinating and unproductive all week and kept leaving it to the last minute when I had to edit. But everything changed when I started implementing these more focused, longer editing sessions. I would be super focused and cut out breaks, as I often realized that breaks would trigger for me to start procrastinating, swipe on socials for 5 minutes, which would then turn into 45 minutes to an hour. And that's how the vicious cycle would always start. In this video, I'll run you through exactly how I snapped out of this unproductive, vicious cycle I used to get stuck in all the time, explaining what my processes are so that you can steal these methods for your own routine. Working freelance means you have to create your own routine from scratch. There's no one to tell you what to do. You can eat lunch whenever you want, you can take breaks whenever you want. There's no one cracking the whip telling you to get working and finish your job. And this is a big change for most people, and it's so easy to slip into bad habits like I did. Either working crazy hours and working evenings and weekends, or not working hard enough and leaving your work to the last minute. So in order to change these habits and break out of this terrible routine, I use these 5 strategies that are very simple, but let me tell you, they work. Starting with cutting out distractions, and that meant my arch nemesis, my phone. I'd always had the excuse of keeping it next to my desk because, I needed to reply to clients and I needed WhatsApp. First of all, I tried putting the limiters on the apps that I used the most. This did work a little bit, it lowered my screen time, but I would still use it quite a lot and rack up like 4 or 5 hours. The thing is, it was quite easy to just turn off the limiter, and a lot of the time I just would because I'm just terrible at getting distracted. I even tried changing my phone to black and white, so everything was grayscale, which did help, but I would still use it a decent amount. But the best way by a country mile for me is to just put it in a drawer and have WhatsApp on your desktop so that you can know if anyone important is trying to get in contact with you, and there's no excuse at all to be on TikTok, to be on Instagram, to be on X, or Twitter really, isn't it? This meant that I wouldn't touch the phone and I wouldn't go on it at all within the hours of my working day. I also wouldn't hear notifications and pick it up and check, and then I pick it up, check the notification, and then, I'm on TikTok already. So I really would advise this to lower your screen time and not be using your phone as much. I haven't found that I've ever missed any important messages, because if I'm working with a client, I get their WhatsApp number and then all the important information is either in WhatsApp or my emails. Although if you actually want to take this tip to the next level, instead of putting your phone in the drawer, when you're editing and you're on a long session, put your phone on a tripod and film a time lapse. This means that you're going to be so much more focused because you kind of know in the back of your head that you are being filmed, so you need to be doing some work. Then you have an extra piece of content to use or some B-roll for a video, and it's taken you no extra time to make that piece of content. But the next tip might actually be an even bigger game changer, because to be focused, you need to be in the right mindset, which involves getting your routine right. And that means waking up at a normal time and going to bed at a normal time. Sounds so basic, but I know so many editors don't do it, and I did not do it for a long time. Your sleeping pattern is just off. You don't feel focused because you don't have a time that you're supposed to sit down and edit and work from. There's always an excuse of like, I worked really hard last night, so I'm not going to start editing till later, 2 or 3. And then 2 or 3 turns into 4 after you've spent some time on TikTok. So getting your routine sorted out is almost just as important. And I sorted this out in a very funny way, but it's extremely effective. Every day I'm supposed to wake up at 8 AM, but it's really hard to do that if you don't have someone to hold you accountable. And I live with my fiance, and I got her to hold me accountable. If I didn't wake up at 8 AM, I had to pay her £5. There's nothing like losing money, to motivate you. And I didn't actually pay her many fivers because it really worked well. So if you live with someone, get them to hold you accountable, because I'm sure they'll be fine with taking a fiver off you. And if you've gone to bed at 4 AM and then you've woken up at 8 AM, you're gonna be very tired, so you're gonna go to bed on time the next day, and it just sorts itself out. But this technique can actually work for anything. It doesn't have to be for waking up. It could be for posting videos, it could be posting content on social media, it could be reaching out to so many clients. Whatever goal you want to achieve, you can have someone hold you accountable to that. And these are two strategies that I implemented fairly quickly. But what I found was I would be at the computer, I would be editing, but then editing would spur in these ideas. I would have different video ideas, I would have things that I would need to do, and different tasks would come up, which would then throw me off, and I'd spend time doing 4 or 5 little tasks, which were productive, but I didn't actually complete the goal that I wanted to that day. And the way I solved this was actually fairly simple with Notion and Google Drive. Basically on Notion, I have a to-do list. And in that Notion to-do list, it's almost like a second brain where I can just put any task that I ever think of that I might need to do or something that I need to remember, I can put in that to-do list and it will always be there. Because I always think of something, I'm like, wow, that's such a good idea, I should definitely do that. And then I'm like, oh, but I'll forget it. So I do it really quickly, but it'll take me off my task. Whereas if I just spend 2 seconds putting it into Notion, it's always there, and then I can stay focused on the job in hand. And then I use a Google Drive doc for YouTube video ideas and vertical video ideas and text post ideas. And if it's anything even half decent, I just slam it in there and it'll be there for me to look upon when I next come to making content. And this helped me stay so much more focused on one task, because it's so much quicker to do one thing at a time. Because once you're in an edit, you almost get in a flow state. Things are making sense and you're working so much quicker and you're just in the right state of mind to finish it. Whereas if you come back to it, you can't quite remember where you were heading, what the storyline was. Finally, another thing that used to prevent me from working for long periods is that I would actually get a lot of headaches. And I think this was because I wasn't drinking enough water. I know, a classic. But do make sure you are staying hydrated. You're having little snacks every now and then to fuel you, because just a 1% drop in hydration could lead to a 12% drop in productivity, which is absolutely mental. 12% is quite a lot. So drink water because science says so. And if you have found this video useful at all, drop a like, hit subscribe, because there's going to be plenty more content coming. I'm doing weekly videos now on YouTube, and I'm really working as hard as I can to take this content to the next level so it can help out as many editors as possible.